talks about the future of the country if Muammar Gaddafi quits. That's despite a former Prime Minister appearing on state television urging opposition forces to negotiate. Colonel Gaddafi himself still sounding defiant. He appeared on a French news channel claiming no more than 100 rebels had been killed. He also warned Europe that Libya keeps millions of migrants from landing on its shores. Well, what began as a series of anti-government protests now looking more and more like the beginning of a civil war. Let's take a look at the main flashpoints. Benghazi, of course, is the main stronghold of the opposition fighters who say they remain in control of the city. Benghazi is not on that map, but pro-Gaddafi fighters are bombarding. OK, there's Benghazi. Now we're down to Ras Lanuf, which is where pro-Gaddafi forces are apparently bombarding in an attempt to take it back from the protesters. Now, earlier, Gaddafi's forces took Bin Jawad, and a witness has told us that 17 people there were killed in the fighting. Let's move further west towards Misrata. Now, there are reports of another 18 killed in fighting there. Rebels say they're in control, but Gaddafi's forces are thought to be regrouping. Now, the capital in Tripoli, of course, remains a centre of power for Gaddafi and his supporters. That will be very difficult for protesters to take control of. Neighbouring Zawiya, where opposition forces had said they were in control, we're hearing that there has been an onslaught there by Gaddafi's forces. In fact, that fighting is said to be continuing. Lawrence Lee has this report.
The more pictures emerge of the fighting, the more it looks like a civil war. There are various front lines. This just one in the big town of Misrata. If these pictures look upsetting, they're nothing compared to the rest. Odd, then, that the government says it's trying not to cause too much death and destruction there. Very odd that Gaddafi himself appears entirely blind to details, like civilians or children being hurt.
We have cells that were activated, took up weapons to kill policemen, kill soldiers. There were casualties on both sides for 2 or 3 days, and weapons were stolen. Now, on both sides, the army and the police aside, the rebels, there have been at the most 100 people killed.
Despite Gaddafi's obvious advantage of having aircraft and helicopters, one of the striking aspects of this conflict has been how inaccurate the bombing has been. While it's true that some weapons dumps have been destroyed, in many places the warplanes have continually missed their targets. It all raises intriguing questions. Are Gaddafi's pilots incapable of shooting straight? Are they missing targets on purpose? And if so, is it because they don't want to hit them, or is it because they're under orders to frighten rather than kill?
When we arrived, we didn't find any opposition because the people here are good. The people welcome us and greet us. But when we were inside, 2 Mirage planes overflew us and 1 helicopter. They wanted to shoot, but we shot them first.
All the same, if there are questions over the aptitude of the Libyan military, then the same must go for the rebel forces, whose euphoric advance was met with organised resistance they couldn't handle, and so little hospitals have been overwhelmed. It's also emerging that many of the fighters have no idea how to use their weapons and are injuring themselves. Some of these pictures suggest a desire to fight is all well and good until the reality of armed battle hits home. So with the prospect of the country tearing itself to pieces, it's hardly surprising that voices close to the regime are once again urging dialogue. The hope in this intervention on Libyan TV must have been that it sounded better than if it had come from Gaddafi.
Dear brothers and sisters, this is a chance in history. We are threatened and need to act today, to work on preparing for national dialogue and to calm the violence, so Libyans all over the country can feel safe and secure and at peace, so we can go back to school and work.
Gaddafi supporters in Tripoli might buy that argument. The east of the country might think it a trick. But as time goes on and the violence looks open-ended, it's not as though anyone else has any better ideas. Lawrence Lee, AlJazeera.
Well, we have correspondents on the ground throughout Libya. Hoda Abdelhamid in the rebel-held city of Benghazi, and Jackie Rowland live for us in the oil refining town of Brega. Let's start with you, Jackie. You're not very far from Ras Lanuf. Are you getting word of what's happening there?
Yes, we have been hearing about what's happening down the road in Ras Lanuf. Ras Lanuf is about 120 kilometres in this direction. In fact, a lot of the people coming along this road and using this checkpoint are in fact fighters, although actually this is just a family here with their little girl in the car. So Ras Lanuf, 120 kilometres in that direction. There was fighting there overnight, Sunday into Monday. In fact, we heard that the hospital at Ras Lanuf had closed down. But the latest that we've heard is that things are quiet there. The front line is in the next town along, Bin Jawad. That's about 150 kilometres from there. And what's happened is, as the rebels have tried to advance and take that town, they've come under heavy fire, sniper fire, and some of the rebels are actually accusing the pro-Gaddafi forces of using the civilians of Bin Jawad as human shields.
And Jackie, all that gunfire we can hear around you in Braga, you were saying earlier that there's a lot of inexperienced men there trying to get to grips with weapons they don't really know how to use.
Yes, people are letting off weapons all the time. The first time that you come here, it's really quite unnerving. But on other occasions, you get to realise that basically it's people learning how to use bits of equipment. People who've never previously even put their hands on a Kalashnikov rifle or, in fact, an anti-aircraft gun are given like a 2-minute tutorial, and then they're left to get on with it. So you have people firing off ammunition into the air. One man apparently he said that he put his finger on a button, and the machine gun started turning round and round and round, and he couldn't figure out how to turn it off again. There's also a lot of posing going on, I have to say, Shuli, just people showing off, and people being patriotic, lots of bravado. But all in all, it makes for a very dangerous situation, because lots of these volunteer fighters are more likely to get injured by this ammunition that's being fired off in an undisciplined manner than they are actually likely to be hurt as a result of direct fighting with the pro-Gaddafi forces.
OK, Jackie, thanks very much indeed for that. Jackie Rowland in Braga there. Let's cross to Benghazi, where the uprising began. Hoda Abdelhamid is there. Hoda, just talking to Jackie there about the kind of people who are being turned into fighters. I mean, the truth is that there are a lot of inexperienced people fighting for a revolution, sadly, badly underpowered in terms of firepower, because, of course, the forces they're facing have the military advantage.
Definitely so, and there's a realization here, not only among the people, but also among the members of the National Council and the military commanders, that things have to change, and they have to change quickly. They have to be organized. They do say, military commanders have been complaining to me over the past few days that they are trying really to give some structure to these volunteers, trying to tell them that it is a good cause, but this way you're not going to win. And they say that this has been quite difficult. Now, I was speaking to one not long time ago, and he was saying, you know, what happened in Bin Jawad and the way the the Gaddafi forces are advancing again may have made many volunteers realize that they need to regroup and they need to follow orders, and I think this is something that is slowly settling in among them. You know, I have to tell you that over the past 48 hours there is really a feeling among people here that things are not going the way they wanted. That euphoria you saw on this specific square every day for